My next guest is Heather DeMonte. She is the brand strategist with Paul Gregory Media. Welcome, Heather.
Hi, nice to meet you.
I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about Paul Gregory Media. So first, I'd like you to share your position and then tell us a little bit about Paul Gregory.
Well, I'm a brand strategist at Paul Gregory Media, and we're a branding boutique. And that means we help businesses of all sizes and in all industries really connect with their customers and tell their unique stories. Our biggest philosophy is that we believe in active brand management. We tell our clients all the time, your brand is so much more than just your logo. It really is everything you say and everything you do, from traditional advertising and PR and marketing to your events, your sponsorships, your web presence. But most importantly, in the area that often gets overlooked is employee engagement. An aligned organization is a powerful organization. And the more that your employees understand what you stand for and why it matters to the people you're trying to reach, and the more they're inspired by what you do, they'll connect and have your brand live in all those spaces that are available to your stakeholders.
That's fascinating, yeah, because I agree, you have to have that employee buy-in and also that you're kind of all on the same page.
Exactly. One of the things that happens a lot is our clients come to us, and for typical projects, it might be to develop a new logo, it might be they want a website or brochure, and what we tell them, well, what you really need to start with is your story. You need to understand what you stand for and why it's so valuable, and you need to inspire your employees so they can tell that story in all your different environments. What we know is storytelling, I'm sure you hear a lot about that these days, and there's a reason for that. It's a really powerful medium for communicating who you are and what you're all about. It's because stories resonate, they're familiar to us, they're emotional, they inspire us. And like your business, stories have a past, and they have a present, and they have a future. So stories really need to know their purpose, and they can really help you convey what you're trying to achieve. We also know that some of the strongest brands in the world value storytelling, and they know that your story really needs to contain three important components. First of all, it needs to be credible. You need to do what you say you do. Your brand really starts at trust. It needs to be relevant. Your story needs to be about what your customers want it to be about, not necessarily what you think it should be about.
I think that's probably a common mistake, right?
It's a common mistake, and we tell our clients a lot. You really need to start, you don't assume, you need to ask. So all of our brand strategy projects and all of our story development starts with really what we call a listening tour. We really want to listen to your different stakeholders. We want to hear from your customers and what matters to them, so you can shape your story about what's relevant to them. The most important component of your story is differentiation. You really need to stand out and differentiate from your competition. And the way you do that is to find that emotional space that really connects and matters to your customers. And it's interesting, we find this to be the most valuable thing you can do in actively managing your brand and telling your unique story. And it's the biggest area that we get client pushback. Because, and it's a typical question, it's understandable, well, what's my ROI on emotion? How do I measure the value of storytelling? And the answer for us is simple. Emotion is tremendously valuable. All your purchase decisions are based on the emotional connection that you have with the brand or the company. And so what that creates is what we call the virtuous cycle. Once you have that emotional connection, it leads to preference, it leads to loyalty, it leads to greater marketing efficiencies, attracting and retaining the best employees and customers, and it really allows you to have that competitive differentiation. So all these things really impact your bottom line and grow your business.
That's fascinating, and I think what you mentioned earlier about branding is that we tend to think that it's just your logo, but as you've clearly illustrated, it's so much more than that. So I'm sure that Paul Gregory, since the company was started, has seen so much change, and do you think that branding is really what people come to you looking for?
That is definitely our area of expertise, and we believe that's how we stand out amongst our competition, because we really look at your unique brand, and it's so much more. It's about connecting with your corporate strategy. Your brand really is the shortcut of your business to your customer. So it's important that you understand what your brand stands for and how you communicate that, and it goes in so many more spaces than they might recognize. And employee engagement is, like I said, one of those areas that often gets overlooked, but it's really your most valuable touch point, and they're your most valuable brand ambassadors.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I never really thought about it in those terms when you're putting like the whole strategy together, but that makes sense. So when you alluded earlier that you get a lot of pushback when it comes to telling stories and part of the branding process, what's probably one of the biggest myths that companies have before they actually start working with you, when they come to you initially?
Well, there's two big myths we say all the time, that your brand is just a logo, which is obviously not true, and that emotion is fluff. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. And it's really about understanding how to capture your unique emotional brand space and convey your story in a way that inspires your audience.
So if I were a potential customer coming to you and I said, I need to rebrand, what would be one piece of advice that you would give someone when they're looking around to find somebody to tell their story?
Well, we would say a couple things. We would ask first, what does the marketplace misunderstand about you? And
great question.
and you'd be surprised. People can really answer that question. They might not think of it, but then they have a lot to say. And the other is what's unique about you. And when you start asking for stories of experiences that people have with their client base, you'll find what that unique selling proposition is. And it's inspiring to really engage and understand and dig deeper in what you stand for and why it matters.
That's fascinating. So as we move to 2016, a tip for us to make our business really shine?
It's all about your story, and tell it in every space you have, because everything communicates.
Beautiful. Heather, thank you so much. That was so educational. I appreciate it, and we look forward to standing out next year.
Okay.
We'll be right back.